Hello, real estate investors, and welcome to another episode of Rise and Shine, where we shine a spotlight on the figures reshaping the real estate landscape. I am Irismar.
And I'm Jim, and today we're thrilled to host two distinguished women who are from the forefront of innovative real estate solutions.
That is right, Jim. Joining us today, we have Sarah Larbi and Aisha Govani, trailblazers in the real estate industry with their pioneering work at midterm rental properties and Sarah Larbi developments. Together, they have carved a niche by focusing on midterm rental solutions, meeting a growing demand for flexible, comfortable, and affordable housing options.
Now, Sarah, with her strategic vision and expertise in property development, and alongside with Aisha and her operational excellence and insight into market needs, they have created a formidable partnership. They're not just about building properties, they're about crafting communities and experiences that cater to a modern lifestyle.
From innovative investment strategies to nuts and bolts of running a successful midterm rental, as well a new venture into resort memberships. Sarah and Aisha, they're here to share their journey and the lessons that they learn and the opportunities they see in today's market.
So whether you're an investor looking to diversify your portfolio, or if you're just curious about the evolving landscape of rental properties, you're in the right place. Please let's welcome Sarah Larbi and Aisha Govani to the Rise and Shine morning show. Good morning, ladies. Thank you so much for joining us. It's wonderful to have these two on again.
Yeah.
Women are kicking butt in
Yes,
upstate.
they are.
So
They're truly our trailblazers. Welcome, ladies. So happy to have you on.
Thanks very much.
Aisha, you are muted. No worries.
Sorry. Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
It's great to see you guys. And I mean, this has been an evolving, pivoting journey that you guys have been on in this thing. I think you were starting off in the SDR business. Am I correct?
Yeah, originally I started with my own investments in cottage rentals in 2018. Yeah.
Nice. And what made the pivot there? Your 2018, things were going well, 2019?
I still do STR and I still do long-term as well. I think the midterm is that perfect spot in between. And it just happened that we had a few longer term guests at the cottages that were working on water dam at that point in time from a service-based company. And then I bought a couple units in Burlington and started doing it just, I think, out of just the guests that were coming in, and then really realized it was an opportunity and created it as a strategy. And then back a couple years ago, or maybe a year before, we actually launched the midterm rental business, decided to buy as many domains as I could about this midterm rental properties, monthly rental properties, about a ton of domains, because I'm like, this is going to be something. I'm going to do something with it. Not currently ready right now because I had way too many things on the go, but yeah, started in long-term originally, then dabbled into short-term, look at the amazing cash flow from that. And then realized that with the bylaws coming and a bunch of pros and cons, you might as well find the gray area, which was midterms.
Now, some people, when Irismar and I are talking to them, they get a little confused when we say MTR. For those that don't know, can you guys let us know what MTR is?
Yeah, so MTR stands for midterm rentals, and that is a 30-day plus stay that can go up month to month, up to 12 months. You don't sign a lease, you're not a tenant, you remain a guest. But comparative to short term, the term starts at 30 days at a minimum.
Awesome. And what was the need? Why is there a need for 30 days for these rentals?
Yeah, there's a lot of markets out there that require 30-day stays on a regular basis. So for example, corporate relocation, realtor clients between a buy and a sell could need a couple of months for the next closing. Someone new to a city who wants to buy or rent long-term, sometimes they like to try out different neighborhoods, stay 1 month in one. You really don't know the neighborhood unless you've been there for that month or 2 months, going through the sort of seasons with it to know whether you want to commit to a long-term purchase in that neighborhood. We have, clients going through divorce, families that need to separate. They don't want to necessarily go and sign a long-term somewhere until they can figure out what to do with the matrimonial home. So they prefer to be somewhere month to month. It gives people flexibility. It gives them agility to make choices, you know, in addition to the stressful situations they're usually dealing with. Maybe it's a major renovation and they can't stay in the home. Perhaps it's a fire flood. And in between the fire flood, like this week alone, we've had, you know, 3 or 4 insurance claim requests come in where someone had a fire flood and the insurance company is our client. Through them, we retain the guests. But it's these situations where someone would require a midterm rental.
Wow, no, thank you, because I believe some of even our viewers will not have an idea that that is actually called a niche or a necessity. So I love how you ladies were able to identify all of those gaps to really support that business.
And I think it also helps quite a bit with the people that bought some cottage properties, some rental properties, and the municipalities are changing their bylaws around short-term rentals. So now if they're turning them into a midterm rental, they can try to accommodate people that are willing to stay 30 days up there. Are you finding that that's happening?
Yeah, I mean, I think more so aside from the cottages, I think it's happening across Canada in whether it's here today, it'll be here tomorrow at some point. I think bylaws are coming. In Hamilton, January 1st, there was a bylaw. Unless you're the primary owner of that property, it's your primary home, and there's, you know, a lot of bylaws against investors doing this. So you'd have to be a homeowner, then you'd have to likely, and again, every municipality is different, but you're going to pay annually. You have to get the property inspected. And so there's a lot more red tape around short-term rentals. And I think it's going to continue being that way. I don't think the current government really likes them either. But, you know, these properties are furnished, and also, you know, back when people bought them, they were cash flowing. And so do they now want to go to long-term with all the chaos that's happening right now with the LTB and the Residential Tenancies Act, as an example, in Ontario? And I don't think it's, you know, going to get any better anytime soon. People don't want to be going in long-term. So they're like, okay, well, now that these bylaws are coming into play, do I sell or do I go and try to find another solution? And the other solution right now is midterm rentals. And I think it's going to continue being that solution for a while. Short-term rentals have been saturated for, I would say, more so in the last couple of years. Everybody during the pandemic went out and bought a cottage, another rental property, real estate, in, you know, just a frenzy. And it flooded the market that many of us that were fully booked, even from a short-term rental standpoint, in different markets, realized that, you know, things were slowing down and prices started dropping, and then all of a sudden panic hit. And you know, I would say the last 12 months, maybe not 12 months, but I would say 9 months, have been really hard for short-term rental investors in the majority of the markets, because the price points aren't the same as they used to be. People just don't have the same disposable income because of all the, you know, increases that our government has done. Things are costing more money. People have less money to spend. And then there's just more supply on the platform, and platforms like Airbnb, Verbo, they essentially are, you know, sitting there. They're not going out and finding guests. Yes, they're putting a lot of money in marketing. But I think that is something that we wanted to do that's different, is we're actually reaching out to the insurance companies. We're actually reaching out to the healthcare staffing agencies. We're actually reaching out to the B2B clients. You know, and the platform is great. That's one thing, but the saturation is insane. You've got to do something that's out of the box, and being able to add that element of doing through our network or through our sales team, actually bringing the clients to us is going to be a huge differentiator, I think. And our investors like that, because we're also screening the guests. We're also bringing professional, you know, business types of guests. And, you know, sometimes on Airbnb, you don't really know what you're getting. And so do you want to take a chance? And it's actually, you know, a little bit scary right now, because if people are getting evicted and they're not going, you know, and they're not able to find something else, they might end up on your Airbnb all of a sudden by creating a profile. So, you know, I would say with our midterm rental company specifically, and even just my own portfolio, when I do this, I want a homeowner or somebody with a reason to stay and to actually leave at some point. More like we screen, unfortunately, it is what it is, but we screen the tenants out because we just don't want to take that risk.
Okay, and that's where I was going to go with my next question. It was it seems like a lesser risk, especially in provinces like Ontario, BC, that have a backlog of landlord tenant issues. For anybody that wants to start off and get into MTRs, what are they looking at? So you're because we've heard some horror stories, of course, with long-term rentals and people not leaving, and it's hard to evict people if they're not abiding by the rules. And then some short-term rentals are not really taking care of the property as much as one would expect. Is the MTR that perfect fit for people, or what would somebody that's brand new to MTRs, what should they think about?
I think there's a couple of elements. Number one is, how do we obtain our guests? So because we are actively going out and searching for certain types of corporate clientele, relocation, and then the other guests, we're dealing directly with another service provider. So for example, if I'm dealing with an insurance claim guest, they come to me from their insurance claim adjuster. So there's a degree of separation, which then allows the guest to have more responsibility on the property because they have something else to lose. Sometimes it's through their divorce lawyer, it's through their company relocation. We work with a lot of HR. So I would say to the homeowner, one thing is to realize when you're entering MTR, first of all, how should the house be set up? Very similar to short term, must be fully stocked, have internet and utilities included, lawn care included. You're still responsible for the property. Type of guest is going to be, if you book through midterm rentals, a guest who we have gone out and farmed and brought in specifically for you. And, you know, we've done our due diligence in the sense of where we found them. We know what their situation is. Like on Airbnb, a lot of the times you can't speak to someone till the booking's already done. And then if you want to cancel the booking, you use the cancellation fee and you get penalized. This way, we've spoken to the guest. We've assured that, you know, where did they come from? Does their story match up? Yes, we've spoken to another individual who is also a service provider for them. And, you know, for the guest, it's vice versa. The value we bring to the guest is the investors we're working with. It's also the same situation. The homes are quality assured. We know that they're fully stocked. The communication is centralized. So the investor is our client, as is the guest, and both are important for us to retain, and both are important for us to serve. If the investor is not happy, we don't have the properties we need. So, you know, if one of our guests ends up not leaving, that will be detrimental to the future of our other bookings. So we make sure that how we find our guest gives us that first filter that, okay, we know we are purposely choosing these companies to create service agreements with, and we know exactly the type of individuals they're bringing in. So that's what I would say to anyone.
Can I add something to that as well? Because I think like there's obviously the side that if they come to us and we work with them, right? But I think your question also was about the risk on their end if they were to do it themselves. And I think there's always a risk to everything. There's a risk to student rentals. There's a risk to long-term rentals. There's always a risk. I think, you know, as they would get started, I would just say, you know, listen and read what you can on the strategy, work with a good paralegal. You're going to need a contract, not a lease, but you need a contract. And there's certain things that need to be stipulated in there. For example, in Ontario, you want to have clause 5A that, you know, talks about how, you know, this type of population, the traveling public, et cetera, is exempt from the RTA. You're going to want to make sure that you have no keys, ideally, and you have a keypad. So if somebody decides to not leave, you can change the locks. You're going to want to have like the cost per night very clearly shown in the contract rather than the monthly amount. So there are things that you want to do to prep. There's always risk to everything. I would say that from a short-term perspective, the case law that came out, and I can speak of Ontario as an example, there's one that came out in June, one that came out in December, that there's longer term stays. And they were actually voted in our favor of, you know, the host or the investor in that case, and they were not considered a tenant. So there are certain things that you want to do, and you can't use any language like lease and tenant and landlord. Like you've got to restructure that as much as possible so it looks and feels like a commercial property, and it's a commercial contract. You know, and there's a few other things, but like Aisha said, like you want to set it up with the linens, with the, you know, same thing that you would have from a short-term rental standpoint. But you want to stay away from the regular, even just the regular checks that you would do from a long-term tenant standpoint. You've got to be careful that you're not necessarily doing those same checks that could be construed as you were screening them for long-term rental. So working with a good paralegal and a good paralegal team is important. if you're not utilizing a company like us and they were doing it themselves, but or work on bringing in guests from your network, realtors that contractors that are doing renovations in people's houses that maybe don't want to live in the dust. So get the word out there. I think for us being a company, I think what we have the advantage of being able to do is call these larger companies and say, hey, right now we're in 44 different cities. It's a lot easier to get their attention versus, hey, we have 2 properties, in this one city as an example. So I think an economy of scale, as you get into these more of the B2B corporate travel side of things, it's, easier to be a company that does this in the grand scale of things, which is what we've been doing for a lot of hosts and a lot of investors. But if they want to do it themselves, which, we do recommend, we don't do exclusive anything with anybody, but that they at least take the right precautions to make it look and feel like a commercial agreement than anything else.
No, thank you both. I think you provided a great highlight without holding back. You're certainly providing those services already, but you're giving a good starting point if they wanted to go and do it on their own. They still have to do their own due diligence, but I love how you highlighted those nuances because they might not be thinking about it. If they're an investor, they will just be, oh, I'm the landlord, or I'm the owner hat. So I love that you highlighted those nuances.
Yeah, and I think, as real estate investors, we have to really take the emotion out of the numbers. And in some of the instances that Aisha was going on about there in terms of some devastating life circumstances, you have to really remove yourself from the emotion of the situation of why somebody needs the MTR, because you want to still have the proper, not tenant, guest in your
Yes.
guest in your midterm rental.
And there have been situations where we've been connected with someone through a trusted source, and we assessed the situation and we determined enough items didn't align, that there was enough red flags that we didn't want to move forward with taking in that guest. And again, even if they're brought into us through a trusted source, we still do the due diligence. We have those conversations. We ask those questions because, again, as much as the guest is our client, as is the homeowner, and we treat their homes as if they're one of our investment properties because we are homeowners and investors ourselves. So we understand, how much investors have put into their homes, the money they've put into to buying these properties and maintaining them and furnishing them for us to be able to, give to our guests. So the value is definitely on both ends, that we have to ensure that the right questions. And then we have to say, unfortunately, we don't feel the midterms would be a right fit. Enough doesn't align. Maybe there's no primary residence or a future goal. Where will you go after 3 months? What's your plan? Is a story you're giving me aligning with, ensuring that you'll be out at that end of 3 months, or do I know you'll be left with nowhere to go and in a dire situation? So we do try to assess as much as we can without, as Sarah mentioned, crossing over the RTA line and asking for credit check and proof of employment and tenant questions. We try to avoid. Yeah.
Wow. And now, if I'm understanding too, when there's a situation when there's say an insurance, somebody's had a fire in their house or whatever, and the insurance company steps in, are the payments coming from the insurance company to the MTR owner?
It depends. Sometimes it can be directly with the insurance company and they'll pay us directly, or the homeowner pays us, we give a receipt, and then the insurance claims will pay the guest directly. It really depends on the person and the policy they hold and the insurance company we're working with. It can go either way.
Very cool. Now, I love this, what you've accomplished here with this midterm rental strategy. It's phenomenal. It sounds like a really great opportunity for investors. So congratulations on thinking outside the box and coming up with something creative and that fills a void. So
And in over 40 cities too. That is insane. If I can take it back just a little bit, is there a challenge where you find yourself that you either had to pivot or you have to really get into call it like a positive mindset? Because expanding into 44 cities and that fast, I'm sure it was not an easy feat. So is that a story that you can share?
Yeah, it feels like hell every day. No, I'm just joking. But I will tell you, this is not passive, right? Like you're a real estate investor because you want a more passive Life, this is an active business, fully active business. You know, we happen to also be real estate investors, but this is the craziness. One day we were having wine at my cottage and I'm like, hey, do you want to do this together? And we were all in and here we are. But I will tell you, there's pivoting all the time as an entrepreneur and as a small business. But I think it's very rewarding. We have a team. We have 4, people on our team. We have 2 VAs. We hired a bunch of interns actually as well. I don't know if we have 10 or what, I lose track, but we're building and we're scaling, which is really cool. I'm excited about it. I think as a serial entrepreneur, I mean, I have the resort as well. You guys know about, and still many projects in different parts of the construction cycle in Hamilton and so forth, but it is really fun. Pivoting has to happen all the time. We're in 44 cities. We actually are expanding into the US this year, and we are going to go global. So I think, being able to pull in the right people to help. We actually joined a course with other mentors that actually help startups in different parts of, it doesn't have to just be real estate, but we tapped into a few different really key resources that are helping us scale this business, because why can't we be that next Airbnb for midterm rental properties? I think we can do it. When you look at Airbnb's projection of where they were at the first or second year, I heard they were selling cereal back then in addition. So I think we're on the right track. There's pivoting every single day. I will tell you, there's probably, times where Aisha and I are like, you just can't stop. You have to just keep going. But we're like, what are we doing? What is the next best thing? And there's so many moving parts. And I don't want to glamorize this because it is hard as hell.
Yeah.
There's hours and blood, sweat, and tears that go into this, and problems and every single day. But I love it regardless. I can't speak for Aisha. I think she loves it too.
I'm still here, so.
But you got to be some level of crazy, I think, to do this. And you have to be okay with the punches. You have to be okay with the challenges. You have to really be okay, and your mindset has to be good. But it's like growing a little, like I don't have kids, but to me, this is like a little baby that you're growing, a business. I absolutely love it. I felt like before Aisha came on board, I was truly quote unquote retired, in the sense that I had my passive. Real estate is never really fully passive, but it was much more passive. And then I just decided to start buying a bunch of stuff, bought a resort, and then started this company. And here we are, again. But I think, if you've got the entrepreneurial blood, you just cannot stop, and you welcome the challenges and the problems because you can overcome them. And I think if it was easy, everybody would do it. Everybody can do it probably with 1 or 2 properties, but to scale it at this level, it's a whole other beast. But it is really exciting.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, because again, it was about not glamorizing it, because sadly some of us will make that mistake, right? We just see the shiny objects and the beautiful pedestal that we might be now, but they don't see the journey that you've gone on. So I love to highlight those pieces. And then, since you highlighted those pieces and we also mentioned the resort, how did that pivot or that came into the table? Acquiring a resort coming from short-term rentals and long-term and so forth.
Yeah, the resort actually came before the midterm business. I bought the resort land in 2021. It was a decrepit old house. It was just raw land. The resort had fallen, apart years and years ago. So it was just land that was zoned as a resort, which is actually what I was looking for. And decided, I should just buy a resort and see what happens. And back then, because of the pandemic, and the rates were still low, people had a lot of money, and I was renting my short-term cottages also for a lot of money. But I think there's a mix. It's a hospitality business as well as a short-term rental business, and it also comes with a lot of challenges. But we bought that for 1.1, got a VTB for 80% of that. Got some private money for the renos. We were all in for about 3 mil, refinanced it for 4.7. So we made about 1.7 on the real estate as is. It is a 5-year project. We still have to build the main lodge. But rates have gone up since then. I don't want to glamorize anything, because I think this is we got to have the truth that's out there. Instagram is great. Yeah, I'll post. I love the resort, but it comes with challenges, right? And you have to pivot with that as well. Like we originally were like, you know what, we'll rent it out. We'll get like $800 a night per cabin. You know, and we've had to pivot. Now we're doing more of the membership model, and working on that and doing it more like a business networking type of resort. We can have, you know, team building retreats, and, you know, having opportunities for people to have yoga and wine retreats, or, you know, member networking events, that kind of stuff. You can still rent it, obviously, for, you know, your clients and your friends and your family, your colleagues. You can do bachelorette parties, but we've pivoted on that as well, and we'll probably continue to pivot as markets change. And I think everybody at some point, like there's nothing stagnant. I started buying buy and hold in 2013. You can't really do that anymore on single families. So you have to pivot whatever you do at some point, because otherwise, you know, what got you here won't keep you there. So you've got to keep moving, and you got to keep adapting. And so that's what we did with the resort. And I'll tell you, that is also a full-time, not as glamorous as it looks, opportunity. I'm excited. I think at the end of the day, you just have to roll with the punches. I want to say mindset is important, because most people that have, you know, to pay $20,000 on these cash calls per month, or one day you wake up and realize it's so cold, all the pipes froze. And then I think at the same time that we were up there, Aisha and I had an experience last year when it was like minus 29. All the pipes froze, and then a building that we had caught fire. Somebody set fire to it all in one night. It was great.
Yeah.
You know, anyways, look, so problems, challenges, there's always solutions. You just have to find a way to stay calm throughout the chaos, because if this was easy, everybody truly would do it. But you know, it is fun, and I'm going to continue to make it happen, make it work, pivot along the way, and you know, continue to find ways to make things work. And I think that's what we got to do.
Well, you know, we can completely understand. Irismar and I we have our dear friends that also own a resort, and we hear and see all the problems and issues that they're going with. And I mean, you got staffing issues, property management, you know, that sort of thing. You're relying on a lot of external people to help you run your business that aren't part of the business. So it's hard to get them to care for your baby, as you called it, Sarah, you know, the same way that you would.
Yeah. I mean, I will say with that, because it's still small, we do have a great maintenance team and feet on the street up there. I think the biggest thing now is going to be the marketing and getting it out there. And that's the current challenges where we're at right now. You know, but yes, absolutely, because there are people on site every single day. They have to be on site. They have to maintain it. They have to look at it. They have to, you know, make sure the hot tubs are good, because as soon as you go from an Airbnb cottage to a resort, they're going to be much more critical, right? You've got to take that to the next step of like prestige and having everything like 100%, because, you know, those Google reviews are important, and, you know, those returning clients are important. And it really is, you know, in a way, sure, it's a little bit similar to short term, but it really isn't, because you're mixing in the whole hospitality piece, and people are setting you on a different standard. Especially if, like, for us, like, we're more boutique and high scale, like upscale, than, you know, many others in the area. So we're also put on a different level, and people look at us with, you know, more detail.
Thanks. And for everybody watching, I'm sure they're curious, where is the resort?
It's in Cobequid, in the Kawarthas in Ontario, on Shadow Lake. So it's actually, it's a really cute spot. If you guys go on inspirebeachresort.com or check out Instagram, Inspire Beach Resorts, you'll be able to see it. But it is beautiful. It is a beautiful space.
You drive straight up 48 from Scarborough, and when 48 ends on 35, you go north, and you're about 10 more minutes.
Just north. It's about 30 minutes from Lindsay, north.
Right on. Beautiful. Lovely spot. Well, that's amazing. So entering the US is next. Anything else on the table for you two ladies?
I mean, we're actually working towards going to either the venture capitalist route. So like, you know how you have a business, you're growing the business, like we're going to keep the business for a bit, but at some point you want to have an exit, and you want to sell. Okay. So we're going to be bringing in investors. So we're actually getting ourselves ready to pitch. and to bring in either venture capital money or there's a whole network of angel investor networks that we didn't even know about existed, and they, you know, invest in these startups, which is really cool. So I think that's the next piece for us in the next 6 months. And then, you know, scale it globally, and then likely in 10 years, you know, sell to somebody that wants to acquire, and then start all over again. Because I don't think you you know, we'll celebrate a little bit. Maybe we'll take 6 months off and then come up with another option. Because I don't know. I just don't think I could ever stop, to be honest.
I don't think she's ever going to let me retire. So I don't think it's gonna happen.
That's awesome. Now, when I hear globally, I'm thinking first places I don't know why come to mind for me are like Italy, Portugal, Spain. Am I on the right path there, or are you going somewhere else?
Everywhere. Costa Rica, Mexico, like, you know, we work with there's also like snowbirds are part of our client base. So they wanted to spend 6 months of summer in Canada. They want to spend 6 months of summer elsewhere. So there, you know, there's the digital nomads. Like there's a whole population of people who just want to be somewhere month to month and have no hassle of acquiring that home and paying the bills and transferring names. And so it's really sky's the limit with where we are around the world, because no matter what countries we've looked at, there's been a demand in the type of guests that we are looking at. So yeah, it could be anywhere.
Lovely.
Amazing.
Beautiful. And I love the mindset piece too. So great job on staying focused and staying the course. You guys are inspirational to many women and men out there. And I want to thank you so much for coming on and sharing this journey with us.
Awesome. Thanks so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you so much.
And we can't wait to see the next update, because it sounds like in a few months there'll be another big announcement. So we'll love to catch you on your journey and have you on again.
Yeah, anytime.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And if anyone needs to reach out, they contact you at?
They can email me, sarah@sarahlarbi.com, Instagram, which is at investor Sarah Larbi, and then the resort is inspirebeachresort.com.
And for me, it's Aisha@midtermrentalproperties.com, and midtermrentalproperties.com is our website, and you can find me on Instagram at Aisha Govani _investor.
Yes, and we also have monthly meetups which is another thing that we do, our investors and entrepreneurs of Canada, monthly meetups in Burlington. So we do those, well, monthly.
All right. Well, we'll see everybody at the next one then.
Yes, we'll see you everyone in the next one. Thank you so much again, ladies. And audience, you have all the information out there. Now it's up to you if you want to take action and follow their footsteps.
Thanks for watching Rise and Shine, everybody. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you soon.